And God said, "Let there be
The
light."
Lord says, "Let my people go."
I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
This is the Talkin' Bible podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to Friday, last day of the week's episode of Talkin' Bible. We are talking with Jeannie for the last time this week. Hello, Jeannie.
Hello, how are you going today?
I'm going good, and apologies for any noise in the background, any clunking. That's just Julie organising our food hampers next to us and on the other side of the wall behind Jeannie. But
yes,
we'll press on. Hey, I've done a podcast with Phil Weirden and the Barking Dog before, so I can do a few.
And who was
bumps.
the most interesting, you, Phil, or the dog?
Probably Spencer. He made sure he was known. Anyway, we are going to talk a little bit more sobering today. Jesus' warning about hypocrisy.
It's in Matthew and in Luke, correct?
Yep, that's what it is. Yep.
I'll read it in Matthew because it's shorter.
Sure, go for it.
Therefore,
we're on a 15-minute time schedule, so go for it.
Don't be afraid of them, since there is nothing covered that won't be uncovered, and nothing hidden that won't be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the light. What you hear in a whisper, proclaim on the housetops. Don't fear those who kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. Rather, fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them falls to the ground without your Father's consent. But even the hairs of your head have all been counted. So don't be afraid, you are worth more than many sparrows. Therefore, everyone who will acknowledge me before others, I will also acknowledge him before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I will also deny him before my Father in heaven. Sorry, this is a warning against hypocrisy. Where does it say the word hypocrisy?
I don't know.
It doesn't.
I don't know why.
So why is it a warning? Who's
know.
hypocritical in this statement?
I'm confused by it as much as you are. Let's just keep going and see.
That's it.
Let's just go ahead and see if we can work it out.
Could say more of it in Luke, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, anyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but the one who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven. That's in Luke. So why doesn't it have that in Mark?
That's interesting, isn't it? That Mark's Gospel was picking out something different. Sorry, is it Matthew's Gospel?
Did I get them confused? Yes.
You said Matthew, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Matthew's Gospel is less elaborate than Luke. Yeah, and Luke is clearly trying to elaborate on that and talk about this whole hypocritical idea of making sure that you are what you say you are, and not being two-faced in your faith. You know.
Just reading this out of context, I have no idea what it's talking about.
No, let's have a look. Matthew chapter 10, 26.
Who is them? Therefore, don't be afraid of them.
This is why it's good to study things in context, isn't it? Matthew chapter 10, verse 26. But don't be afraid of those who threaten you. So the context is, it's a long teaching in Matthew 10. It immediately follows on from yesterday's episode.
No, it technically doesn't. There's other verses in between.
There's other verses in between.
Yes, we're not doing.
It's part of sending out the disciples.
Yeah, it's a part of description of what a disciple is, what life is going to be like,
what it's going to be like to be a disciple, what it's going to be
Yes.
like. Don't be afraid of those who threaten you. That's what it is. Okay, gotcha. So we've plucked it. The reason I probably put it together this way is because Luke extracts it and puts it in a different context, which they often do. That becomes some of the challenging things about marrying up the Gospels is often they'll take the same teaching and make it say something different or use it to illustrate a different point.
So
you tell me where you wanted to go with the notes. Let's just go with that.
Well, I am actually just confused by this because don't be afraid of them is talking about people that are persecuting you before you. Okay, so I'm reading it and I'm thinking, don't be afraid of people persecuting you. Don't fear those who are to kill the body, who can kill the body but are not able to kill the soul. Rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Like, is this literal? Is this meant to be scary, or is he referencing that place? What is it outside the temple there? Outside
Gehenna. Yeah. Well, that was part of what they believed, but whether he's using it metaphorically here and talking about their understanding of the place of the dead and all that sort of stuff, I think there's a reasonably robust view of what the afterlife looks like, a place of the dead where there's suffering or torture or punishment. I think he's talking about that, and he's going, God could do that in that place. So that's coming into the mixture here. But really, in a nutshell, he's trying to say to them, you're going to face people who are going to try to cause you to compromise on your faith, and don't be afraid of them. And in Luke's Gospel, it starts by, meanwhile the crowds were gathering, thousands were milling around, stepping on each other. And Jesus turned to his disciples and warned them, beware of the yeast and the Pharisees, their hypocrisy. So there is there is a call there to fear God, to trust Him, to put Him first, not to what's the word I'm after? Succumb to the powers of this world and live the hypocritical life which says you'll do one thing and do something else.
That's all this is saying.
Yeah. Make sure you put God first. I think so.
Put God first.
Yeah, put God first. Like, don't try to be a hypocrite. Don't try to say you serve God, but then not really serve Him.
Because the first time I read this, don't fear those who kill the body. And then it says, fear him who's able to destroy both soul and body in hell. I think, ooh, should I be afraid of Satan here? Like, it gives a lot of power to Satan there. Fear him who's able to destroy both soul and body. And then I thought, hang on a minute.
He's talking about Satan
He's
there?
not talking about Satan.
That's right. No,
he's actually talking about me.
He's talking about you.
Yes.
Tell me
I
why.
can kill my own soul and my own body in the choices that I make.
Right, okay. Well, it's definitely not talking about Satan.
No, but I always read it. I always read the negative first.
Okay.
The scary stuff first.
I think it's talking about God.
Well, yes, ultimately he can, but because of my choices.
Yes, because of our choices. Because that's right. God will. Yes, that gives us the power. God will, if we choose to live willfully this hypocritical life where we compromise on our faith for the sake of keeping the peace, or we compromise on our faith to look good, or whatever, then yes, we are actually making poor choices that will lead us down a pathway of destruction.
Yeah.
What Jesus is wide is the path that leads to destruction,
Yes.
and narrow is the path that leads to life. That's up to us to walk that path. But the end result is if we choose to walk down a path of destruction, in the end it will lead to separation from God, or whatever that might look like. We don't have to get into the whole nature of what the afterlife looks like, but definitely the sense of separation from God.
Yeah, and it's me who can separate myself
Yes.
from God. And therefore, fear yourself, because you're able to destroy both soul and body.
Be aware of your own
Yes,
shortcomings.
and my own hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy. Yeah.
And to ask myself, where am I being
Now we're
hypocritical?
talking.
And then it shows me here, aren't two sparrows sold for a penny, and yet not one of them sounds to the ground. To me, this sounds a lot like, or it reminds me of the Beatitudes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it does.
You know, when God is also telling me how much He cares about me
Yep.
as well. So
Yeah, that's right. So this is the other side of it, is that He's showing the level of protection He has, the level of care and provision He has for His children.
yes, yeah, because here the Sermon of the Mount, which is the Beatitudes, which I
Yep.
just said. Therefore, I tell you, don't be anxious about your life, what you eat or drink, nor about your body, what you'll put on. Because look at the birds of the air. See, it's the same thing.
Same
Matthew's
thought, isn't it?
reminding you
Yep.
of that speech.
Yep.
And now he's bringing
it's
up
being
this issue.
reframed in a different place, in a different way. In that sense, is hypocrisy meaning it's linked to this denial of trusting God? Is that what you're saying? Is that part of hypocrisy, living by a standard where we don't trust God for our
Yes.
provision, and we try to provide for ourselves, we try
Yeah.
to live for ourselves, and that's hypocritical living?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
It's
that's
saying, I trust you, Lord, but then
but not trusting Him.
not trusting
Yeah.
Him. Like if He asks you to be obedient in this certain area in your life, and you think, okay, well, I might be obedient half
Yes.
of what you're
Yeah.
asking me.
Yeah.
That's hypocrisy.
It is. I agree. That is hypocritical living. Yeah, and it's a dangerous way to live because it's a slippery slope, and that's what Jesus is trying to get at here. I think we need to, because He's rebuking, in Luke's version, He's rebuking the Pharisees for their hypocrisy, and their hypocrisy is really, there's a moral failure on the inside of them. They're all about trying to present well on the outside and make themselves look like they've got it all together, but inside they're all corrupt. And that's the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And we can be that. We can go, we want to present well to people to make it look like we've got it all together, but inside we're not actually trusting and relying on God for our source of life.
I would say that's a common thing. Would you?
Yes, I think it's something we should all be challenged by. Yeah. That's why He's talking to them. He's saying, beware of the yeast of, because this world view will get into you. This world hypocritical view of trying to be someone other than, you're trying to appear as someone other than who you are will get deep in your soul if you're not careful.
This statement here, therefore don't be afraid of them, since there is nothing covered that won't be uncovered and nothing hidden that won't be made known. Growing up, I would read that and being aware of my own hypocrisy and fear and things.
It becomes a fear mentality.
Yeah, yes. I think, oh no, everything about me is going to be uncovered. This is terrible. Honestly, the amount of terrible things that I learned about Christianity, I don't know why I'm still sitting here.
Here you are, understanding the grace of God
Yes.
more and more.
It's even terrible that I could use terrible in the sentence twice just then.
That's terrible, Jeannie.
Yes. But what if you read this? Since nothing is covered that won't be uncovered and nothing hidden that won't be made known. What if I read that as to the proclamation of the gospel? Well, the gospel, if you go back and you read, it has been covered, but now
it's being proclaimed.
It's being proclaimed.
Could be. I've not seen it that way.
Yes.
It fits the story, doesn't it?
Yes.
Don't worry, there is nothing hidden that will not be made known. Yeah, it does fit the story.
The gospel will be made known.
So if that's the case, what is the encouragement in that or the warning in that Jesus is trying to get at?
I don't know. What is it?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's not so much a warning as more of a statement. What I tell you in the dark, which he has spoken in quiet rooms to his disciples, now go and speak in the light.
Yeah.
What you hear in a whisper from me, now proclaim it on the household, to the housetops.
So he's empowering them to live that life.
Like there should be no fear. You should be out there on the housetops proclaiming the gospel.
Hence why it's linked to hypocrisy, because hypocrisy will make us afraid of other people. So we will keep, and that's when we become a hypocrite, when we're two different people. The person on the inside that we want to be and the person on the outside that we are. And fear would stop us from doing that. Fear of man, fear of what others will say, fear of persecution will stop us from proclaiming, and then we end up with this hypocrisy. So Jesus is saying, drop the fear, get out there and proclaim.
Yeah. It also tells me that the faith, the gospel, is not meant to be hidden like a cult.
No.
Like it's actually meant to be spoken.
It's
be out for everybody out there in the light.
Yeah, it's not some secret hidden truth.
Yeah.
Like some cults would say, we've got the truth, you've got to come follow us. No,
and it's not a secret club.
No, it's not
Anybody
a secret club.
should be able to join.
Yep. And it's our responsibility to proclaim it to all. And if we don't proclaim it to all, or we treat certain people as unacceptable in it, then we are being hypocritical. We're falling into what the Pharisees did. We're using their yeast, which is getting into the mix. We can't do that.
No, we can't do that.
That's a fascinating little passage, because it more than perhaps anything I've seen, it seems like it's the same text being used by the gospel writers almost in two totally different ways.
Can you explain that?
Well, one is Luke's gospel is really hammering down how it affects the warning about the Pharisees and not living in the hypocritical life like them, whereas Matthew uses the same text, but he uses it from the empowering perspective of sending out his disciples.
Yes, it's in that whole chapter of what a disciple is, what you're meant to do.
Yeah, when he sends you out, a missionary. Yeah,
yes.
As we talked about in the last episode. So they're almost, I'd have to do some more digging to see where they overlap, because it's the same, a lot of the same words, but they seem to be used in two different contexts.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, fascinating. So it's almost like two separate Bible studies using the same message.
But you can do that with his parables.
Oh, you can do that with his parables.
Time.
Absolutely, you can. They've got multiple depths of meaning, definitely. Yeah, and that's a good example of what seems to be happening there.
I've always been afraid of this verse as well. Whoever denies me before others, I will also deny him before my Father in heaven. Do you think that's true?
I think there's a risk in that. I think if we continually hide our light for fear of people, then I think Jesus is trying to say, don't expect me to, support you when I've done so much for you if you're not prepared to stand up for me. If you're not prepared to speak up for me. You're not prepared to live for me. If you're going to hide it away, don't be so hypocritical as to assume that you're entitled to all of my blessing and favor. I don't know whether he will or won't. That's up to his grace. I'm sure there are times when I've been hypocritical and he's still bestowed his grace upon me, but that's just it. It's grace. It's not entitlement. So I should not expect that if I'm going to live a hypocritical life that I should expect to receive anything from God, because I'm being a hypocrite. I don't want to be that. I want to be a person who's transparent and lives a life that honors him.
Do you think that the church denies God in some way, or how we would do that today? How do we deny God today?
I would say one of the ways that the church, it's hard because the church is broad, but one of the ways that Christians or Christian churches could deny God today, if it's in this context, especially in this context, would be this hypocritical life that uses people, spits them out. It's a yeast. It's a bad teaching that gets in, which in the context of Luke's gospel, let's put it back at what he says. He says, "Beware of the yeast, their hypocrisy. The time is coming when everything that is covered has been revealed." So what is he attacking them for? Well, he's attacking them for their selfish living, their failure to represent the Lord, like we talked about in the parable of the wicked farmers, and that's what he's rebuking them for. Whatever you've said in the dark will be held in the light, and what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the housetops. So he is rebuking a people, the Pharisees, for their selfish living, their selfish, self-focused living. And I think that churches can be that way. And we shouldn't be. We should be selfless, not selfish. That's a call for all of us.
How is one way we would be selfless?
Generous and welcoming. Let's go with 2 ways. We should be welcoming for certain, and we should be generous of those in need.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, particularly on the welcoming part, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
There have been people who have not been welcomed in the church.
Yes, absolutely.
For some time.
Yeah, there have, and we've got to change that, because otherwise we're hypocritical. We say we love people,
That's
but we
right.
don't.
Yes, and if we go back to yesterday's chapter that we talked about, when Jesus gave authority to his disciples, he actually gave it to Judas as well.
Yes.
Who did doubt and who did betray him in the end. And so if Jesus gives him grace and authority, then there is nobody that we can't extend our own grace to. That's
important. Or we should be extending our grace to. Absolutely. Yeah, good point.
There's one more thing that I think about in this is just how vulnerable life is when you follow Jesus. Like, you are meant to be out there proclaiming from the rooftops, yet you're in a vulnerable position there. And so you need to be able to trust him in everything that you do. Yeah. And you need to be empowered by the Spirit, and you need to have the authority of Christ, because your life is going to be,
You're living on the edge.
Living on the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're placing ourselves into a position where we speak up for the vulnerable. So a gospel liver will find those people who are vulnerable and speak up for them. Proverbs, speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves, it says. There is definitely, by doing that, by putting yourself in a place where you represent vulnerable people, you will become vulnerable yourself. And that's where the trust in God comes. We have to do what we do completely reliant on him and not relying on our own strength.
And we have to have peace about us as we do it. Going back to yesterday's, I think it was yesterday's chapter.
Yep.
Yes, and leave peace wherever we go.
Yes, that's right.
But that comes from totally relying on God
does.
and having a relationship with him.
Yes, it does indeed. We've got to have that to start with, Jeannie.
Yes, and making good choices, like I mentioned before. It's myself who can destroy my own soul and body.
Yeah, that's right. Let's make sure we make choices that honour God every day. Lord, David says, let the thoughts of my heart, the meditations of my heart, and whatever you say, my prayers and meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, Lord, every day. Make sure the things we dwell on and think on are good things and godly things.
Yes, and this verse here, verse 30, even the hairs of your head have all been counted, shows you that even though you're vulnerable and you're hypocritical and all these things,
God's
this is
still,
a God who knows how many hairs have all been.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, I was going to make some joke about losing hair, but I'm not now. I'm getting tired. We've been recording for a few hours now. So even the hairs of your head have all been counted. He knows a lot about you. That's what it says.
Yep, he does indeed. Amen.
So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows.
Amen.
He ends that up with.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. That's an encouragement.
Oh, wait. So who's Jesus in this? I didn't ask you.
Who's Jesus in this? I'm confused by this one, actually, because I think this Jesus is presenting himself in two different ways. Let's go with he's the one who's sending us out, but he's empowering us to live for him, and he's watching us to make sure that we encouraging, urging us, challenging us to not be hypocritical in the way we live.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
That's pretty good. I'll give you that.
All right. That's it for another week.
That is it, yes.
Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. I learnt a lot. I stumbled a lot.
I'm confused a lot now. I'm actually confused by that last one. I'm
not sure these conversations help us or not.
Oh, well, it does. It's food for thought. That's what conversation and studying the Bible does.
Yes, that's thought. Right.
All right, keep studying, everybody. Keep learning. Keep hungry. Have a great weekend. Talk to you next time. See ya.